Not too shabby, are they? I'm super proud. Hey, I want to introduce you to somebody real fast. Eric, wave your hand real fast, because we like people named Eric. This is Eric. Eric is our worship associate with the youth group. He's a student at DBU, just finished his freshman year, has a great GPA, just wrote a song that's really awesome. But we've loved him working with the students. It's been phenomenal. So love you, buddy. We're glad you're with us. It's fun. It's really, really cool. Well, howdy and good morning. It is Senior Sunday, and I'm so thrilled you're here. This is really, really fun. You're not going to see them all on stage this morning, but this year we have 19 high school graduates. This is pretty cool. And they're coming from 6 different high schools, which is super neat too. I love God continues to just make our group super diverse, not only racially and gender-wise and everything else, but like they're coming from all sorts of different schools and cities, and they actually like each other, which is fun. It's like we're like a church or something. It's amazing. So we are. I'm excited that you get to meet some of them. A lot of you know these kids because they've been here their whole lives. But I'm excited to introduce you to them. So we ready to rock? All right, our first graduate this morning is Miss Abby Chase. Just pop up over here. There you go. Abby is the daughter of David and Misty Chase. She just graduated Friday night from Grace Prep, which was a lot of fun. She's even more relaxed than the rest of them. Her and Ryan both are already done. So she's headed to Dallas Baptist University, and she's going to major in business. Her favorite passage is Psalm 107, verse 1. Our next graduate is Miss Emily Rose. No, hang on. Did I get my pages mixed up? I got my pages. I'm sorry, guys. Makenna. There you go. We're okay. There we go. I knew I dropped him coming in. That's my fault. This is Makenna Crowder. She is the daughter of Sean and Elizabeth Crowder. She's going to graduate from Martin. You guys are done, though. Like, seniors are done, right? Oh, never. They did the walkout thing, so they pretended like they were done. That was fun. She's also going to DBU, which is really cool. She's going to major in education or ministry. Go with ministry. That's a good one. Her favorite passage is Colossians 1:10. We've also got something special for you, though. So I'm going to let Miss Judy tell you something real fast. So.
Something that I've been involved in, and Alicia and this whole church. Excuse my voice. I'm Judy Deary, and I'm her assistant in the Christmas presentation of cattle. And Makenna and her family came to us as a godsend. She played Mary for us. Her little brother played baby toddler Jesus. Daddy was in the orchestra, and I think Mama even was an extra at one point. Playing the part of Mary is very intimidating for a lot of people, especially for a young high school student. And Makenna, you were great. On stage, give her a hand. On stage, whatever we threw at her with lighting changes or blocking or anything, she took it in stride. Off stage, she was beloved by the entire cast from 6 to 70. And on stage, during the performance, she brought the miracle of the birth of Christ to a new experience for a lot of people who had never seen it. Now, my favorite, one of my favorite memories of Makenna is one you probably don't know about. But there's a king scene in the show, and it's a big production number. And we'd rehearsed it with music and costumes and props and everything, but we normally did not rehearse it with baby Jesus there. And what the audience never knew was that Mary and Joseph, every performance, had to improvise that performance. When there's a toddler on stage, You don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes he slept, sometimes he didn't. But the deal is, on the first dress rehearsal, when we went up there, and there was baby Jesus, everybody forgot what to do because they were so mesmerized with Jesus. And one of them came off and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I missed my cue. I just couldn't take my eyes off Jesus." And Makenna, that's what you help us do, to keep our eyes on Jesus.
Thank you so much, Judy. I'll keep these for you.
Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. All right. Our next graduate is Mr. Samuel Masurgeon. He is the son of Sam and Rachel Masurgeon, which parents, I forgot. I need you, whenever parents stand up, we want to clap for you too. So, yeah, this is Samuel. Big dude. Love this guy. He's a graduate of Kennedale High School, and he's headed to Texas Tech University. Waiting for you. You can do your thing. There you go. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, awesome. He's going to major in engineering, which we have a bunch of engineers in this class. It's pretty cool. Samuel is one of 2 Eagle Scouts we have this year, which is pretty amazing. Those guys are rare. We got 2 of them. His favorite passage is Philippians 4:13. Great job, buddy. Awesome. Our next one, she's not here with us, and I'll explain why, is Hannah Marie Earhart. She'll be here in the next service. She actually graduates today, so she's at graduation practice right now. She'll be in the second service. If you want to meet her, y'all pop back in the second time. What's fun about Hannah, she just joined the youth group 6 months ago. Incredibly sweet young lady. We love having her around. So, do we have her picture up? There we go. Well, anyway, if her picture popped up. Anyway, incredibly cool young lady. Hope you get to meet her. We love having her around too. All right, after Hannah, we have Hailey Grace Salyer. You look surprised. Did I surprise? You look surprised. Salyer. I'm sorry. Salyer. I'm sorry. You'd think I'd get that right by now, right? I'm sorry. Okay. She is the daughter of Sam and Melissa Salyer. Did I say it right that time? Yeah. All right. Awesome. Good. She's a graduate of Martin, and she's headed to UTA. She's going to major in business. Her favorite passage is John 15:12. Next, we've got Miss Savannah Heather Salyer. She's also the daughter of Sam and Melissa. She's also a graduate of Martin. She's also headed to UTA. And then she's going to head to I'm sorry, I read the thing. You're just going straight to DBU. I said, forget UTA. Because she's going to major in children's ministry, right? That's pretty awesome. Yeah, we love that. Yep. Her favorite passage is Romans 10:9. And then bringing up the Salyer triplets, which is cool. We got Madison Gale Salyer. She's also the daughter of Sam and Melissa, also the graduate of Martin. She's headed to Stephen F. Austin University. So you're going 3 different directions. It's kind of fun. Y'all ready for that? You've never been to part? Oh, okay. There you go. Boy, that was no hesitation there. She's going to major in psychology, and her favorite passage is Colossians 3:23. So great job, girls. All right, Gage William Glazer. Nope. Gage is the son of Chris and Laura Ashley Glazer. He's part of a homeschool co-op, which is awesome. Mr. Max, this is really, really cool. Gage is headed to trade school. He's going to be an electrician. So if you need an assistant, Gage is your guy. Love this, man. So I want to brag on Gage too, man. Something really, really cool. But he has over 100 hours of volunteering just in this church alone. It's been incredible the last few years. So much fun. Love this kid. Yeah. Proverbs 24:16 is his favorite passage. Next, we got Mr. Jordan Lee Brown. Jordan is the son of Jason and Tara Brown. He is from Martin High School, and he's graduated from the STEM Academy, which is no easy task. He's headed to UTA. He's going to be majoring in mechanical engineering, and his favorite passage is Galatians 1:10. Sliding over, bud. Yeah. I'm going to run out of stage room. This is pretty awesome. Then we've got Jackson Cade Deary. Come on up. Yep. He's the son of Nathan and Kelly Deary. He's a graduate of Mansfield High School. He's headed to the University of Arkansas. He's also going to major in mechanical engineering. He's our other Eagle Scout. I got to watch him get that. That was so much fun. There's an important principle, especially for a police officer's son. So there's this principle of trust but verify. So my students, they give me their favorite passage, and I always check them, because every once in a while one of them likes to slide something silly in. And if any of our kids were going to do that, it was this guy. He's a little bit sneaky, right? But he didn't do that. He had an awesome verse. It's Daniel 1, 8, and 9. So great job. Proud of you, bud. Well done. So, but I've still got my eye on you, okay? That's good. All right, Ryan James Malorn. Yep. He's the son of Matt Cherie Malorn. He is a graduate of Fort Worth Country Day. He's been done a week. He's super relaxed. Yeah. So fun. He's headed to Oklahoma State University. He's going to major in computer science. Specifically, he's going to make video games. So he's probably going to be the richest of all of us, which is pretty awesome.
Kate wants us you step forward.
Kate wants me to step forward. Okay, cool. I always do what Kate tells me to do. That's fine. So Ryan's favorite verse is Proverbs 3:26. Say what? I'll stand over here on the side. So, all right, next we got Kylie Brianne Smith. Kylie's the daughter of John and Melanie Smith. She just graduated, or she's about to graduate from Martin. She's headed to UTA, and she's going to major in nursing. So something fun about her, she is qualified already, and this has been a couple years. She's qualified to do an EKG. She's also qualified to draw blood, and she frequently likes to ask people if she wants us to draw blood, which I've always gotten a kick out of. Like, she's ready to rock if there's an emergency. Her favorite passage is Proverbs 3:5. Good job. Next, we've got Miss Peyton Ray Dunn. She's the daughter of Pat and Rhonda Dunn. She's also a graduate from Martin. She is headed to, and this is emphasized, the University of Nebraska. So good job. I've never sent a kid to the University of Nebraska before, so this is kind of cool. Yeah, you are. This is first. It's good. So she's going to major in social studies and coaching, and her favorite passage is Philippians 4:13. Then we got Miss Shay Alexandra Wise. Yep. She's the daughter of Jake and Janine Wise. She's also graduating from Martin. She's headed to Tarleton State University, which I'm really excited about because there's amazing things. God's doing some awesome stuff at Tarleton, so I'm so glad you're headed there. It's really, really cool. She's going to major in pre-physical therapy, which is so, so fun. Her favorite passage is Romans 8:38. Next, we got Miss Kylie Marie Woods. She's the daughter of Jennifer and Trampus Woods. She's also a graduate of Martin. She's headed to UTA, and she's also going to major in nursing. So we got lots of people who can take care of us. Yeah. Her favorite passage is also Proverbs 3:5 and 6. Next up, we got Miss Emily Rose Goodwin. She's the daughter of Darren and Amber Goodwin. She's graduating from Martin. She's going to take a semester off that she's headed to UTA, and then she's headed to UNT, but she's going to do what?
TCC.
What did I say? What did I say?
Said UTA.
I'm sorry. TCC, then UNT, but she's majoring in psychology, which is a perfect field for her. It's really, really cool. Her favorite passage is Colossians 1:10. And she's got her twin brother over here, Mr. Samuel Edward Goodwin. Also the son of Darren and Amber. He's also graduating from Martin. He's also headed to TCC, then UTA. That's where I was getting you two mixed up. He's also going to major in electrical engineering. And his favorite passage is Proverbs 1:7. And then our final one, Mr. Mitchell William Biesecker. Nope. He's the son of Shelley Biesecker and the late Gregory Biesecker. He's graduating from Martin. He's headed to UTA, and I don't know what you're majoring in, Mitchell. I didn't ask you. That's my fault. Computer science. That makes perfect sense for him, too. Brilliant kid. Genuinely brilliant kid. His favorite passage is Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. And I'm going to get out of the way because, ladies and gentlemen, here is your Lake Church class of 2023. Melmo says one more. There you go. Great job, guys. Great job. You can go sit down now. Good job. Good job. Pretty good looking bunch. All right, before I forget to say it, last time I preached, I bragged about Baylor a lot, and some of you who know where my loyalty lies questioned whether or not I was, a real Aggie fan. So those of you who are Aggies in the room, you'll know it when you hear it, but I'm going to need some call and response from you, okay? I am genuinely thrilled this morning to get to honor these guys. This is the first class that I got to ferry all the way through. I got them as 6th graders, and they're graduating now. Shay is super cool. So, I don't know if you know national trends, but 99% of the time, student ministries, as students get older, they disappear. Classes get smaller. These guys did the opposite. They actually got larger as they went along, which has been super neat. We had 3 different seniors join us their senior year. Shay was the first one, which is awesome. One of the things I love about this girl, she had a job at Chick-fil-A, so great job. She quit her job so she could be more involved at church and do some other stuff, which I love. It's so neat, man. So, Savannah's going to the children's ministry. Kylie, I honest to goodness, I think I've watched you grow more than any kid on this group, and I've loved watching you grow up. It's so much fun. Abby, you and I did this thing together. Abby joined the church a month before I did, so we genuinely we're going to kind of figure out this Lake Church thing together, and I think we did okay, right? Super fun. Yeah. Hailey, especially when she was a 7th grader through probably 9th or 10th grade, almost every single Sunday during the invitation time, she would come and pray. Frequently, she would be the only one in the entire congregation to come and pray. And 99% of the time, she was praying for her family. Praying for, obviously, one of her sisters and her little brother, which has a whole bunch of growing up to do, right? So, yeah, hey, Lucas, love you, buddy. But I've always loved her spirit, man, and to this day. Now, she didn't necessarily come forward, but she still sends me prayer requests all the time. Love her heart. It's so much fun. Sam's the other one. He's going to come and ask me to pray, and we pray together all the time. I've loved watching you grow up. Makenna is probably the nicest human being on planet Earth. It's amazing. She's incredibly fun. Emily and her brother are so much fun to hear singing. Actually, when her whole family sings together, super cool. She also loves animals. Jackson's a fantastic gooper. And I love him for it. Like, if you need a laugh, even when he's not trying, like, he just makes you smile. Jordan might be the smartest one of the bunch of them, although there's some really, really intelligent ones. Fun fact, just like a few weeks ago, one of his teachers just called him and said, hey, you want to teach this morning? Called him like an hour before church. Said, hey, you want to teach this morning? He's like, yeah, I can do that. It was and he taught really, really, it was beautiful. Brian and I threw up on stage together. Yeah. So, yeah. That was not the plan, but we did. No kidding, though, man. I love this kid. We're super tight. Samuel, I took you on your first mission trip ever. You've been on several with me. You and Mitchell both, which is super cool. Gage, one of my favorite days with you ever is you called me and you said, hey, can I change my oil in the church parking lot? Dude changes his oil by himself. And so he and I hung out in the church parking lot. Like, it's super cool. He's just a self-sufficient dude that's so much fun. Also really, really smart. Also likes to play video games, which you have a good time with. So, Kylie, you were always so kind and sweet, super brilliant. She didn't have a lot of words, but super, super sweet and kind. Reagan's the other one. She just joined us a month ago, but she's been so much fun having her around, which is cool. So, Madison, dude, you can fling flags with anybody, and then rifles, and 99.9% of the time it goes perfectly. And when it doesn't go perfectly, like, you don't quit. That's so cool. And then Peyton, I think you're the best dancer I know. And half the time she's dancing and she doesn't realize it. I would go to watch her play volleyball games, and in between sets, she'd be dancing. Did I miss Mitch? Mitch, oh yeah, no, I said that. Mitchell went with us on the first mission trip too. I love that photo of you guys standing up on the pole. And you need to stand on the pole because you were shorter than everybody else, but you did it anyway, man. It was awesome. Yeah. I did this because, man, I know and love this class. Kate does too. They're incredible. And please, when I hear you say, like, the class grew, that has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with Jesus' work in their lives and their willingness to respond to it. That's why they're here. Not just, none of them are showing up, like, for the first time in forever. It's so, so cool to have watched them grow. They are going to advance the kingdom, I promise. So, guys, I love you, and I'm so, so proud of you. All right, let's get to work. We're in Numbers chapter 13 this morning. Pastor Eric told me I could do whatever I wanted to this morning, which was incredibly kind to him. So I've already warned you guys. I'm going to teach you. This is my favorite passage to preach from. And I've had you in for 6 years now, and I've never gotten to teach this before. I wasn't necessarily saving it for today, but I'm not going to not take this opportunity to do it. All right? So Numbers chapter 13. Have your Bibles open because we're going to be jumping around, but we're going to start at verse 1. It says this: The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Send me to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the people of Israel. From each tribe of their fathers you shall send a man, every one a chief among them. So Moses sent them from the wilderness of Paran, according to the command of the Lord, all of the men who were heads of the people of Israel. And these were their names. And I'm going to skip their names because I would just say them wrong anyway. Okay? Jump down to verse 17. Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, and he said to them, Go up into the Negeb and go up into the hill country and see what the land is, and whether the people who dwell there are strong or weak, whether they're few or many, whether the land they dwell in is good or bad, and whether the cities they dwell in are camps or strongholds, and whether the land is rich or poor, and whether there are trees in it or not. Be of good courage and bring some of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the season for the first ripe grapes. So they went up and they spied out the land from the wilderness of Zin to Rehob to near I'm going to say that wrong too, Lebo Hamath. They went up into the Negeb and to Hebron and to Ahiman and Shesai and Talmai. The descendants of Anak were there. Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt, and they came to the valley of Eshcol and cut down there a branch with a cluster of grapes, and they carried it on a pole between two of them. And they also brought some pomegranates and figs. The place was called the Valley of Eshcol because of the cluster that the people of Israel cut down from there. At the end of the 40 days, they returned from spying out the land, and they came to Moses and Aaron to the congregation of the people in Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. And they brought back word to them and all the congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. And they told them, We came to the land which you sent us. It flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. However, the people who dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are fortified and very large. Besides, we saw the descendants of Anak there. And the Amalekites dwell in the land of the Negeb, and the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the hill country, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the Jordan. But Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, Let us go up at once and occupy it, for we are able to overcome it. And then jump down to chapter 14. Then all of the congregation raised a loud cry, and the people wept that night. And all the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The whole congregation said to him, Would that we had died in the land of Egypt, or that we had died in this wilderness. Why is the Lord bringing us into this land to fall by the sword? All right, let's pray with me. Jesus, thank you for today. Thank you again for this class, and thank you for your word, and thank you for how you've grown them. God, I pray one time again that you would bless them, but more than anything, Father, would you please, please, please speak very clearly from your word today. I'm not just preaching to seniors today, Father. This applies to all of us, and we need to embrace this. Father, meet me first. I want to embrace this, so help me. Thanks for this opportunity. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, Aggies, here's your opportunity. I got a little story for you, Ags. There it is. I got at least one. Awesome. There we go. Yeah, if you've never been to Yale practice, and most of you have never done before, when Texas A&M has a Yale practice, somebody yells out, "Got a little story for you, Ags," and then I get a, there it is. Beautiful. Awesome. So I'm a big fan of Texas A&M. There's lots of reasons for that, but this story is probably the biggest. In 1922, Texas A&M was playing Center College right over here in Dallas. This was before the Cotton Bowl was built. It was just Fair Park Field. But it was the Cotton Bowl before the Cotton Bowl was really the Cotton. This is one of the first bowl games in history. Center College was the #1 team in the country. So A&M drove up to Dallas to play them. they had 17 players on the team, which wasn't uncommon, particularly on road games. Most teams might have 30 players at the time, but when they went on the road, for whatever reason, they would only take a handful, probably just for cost cutting, right? So they took 17 players the game. The game started, and before the first quarter was over, A&M already had 6 injuries, so they're down to 11 players. Now this, again, during this time frame, it wasn't uncommon for guys to play both sides of the ball. But their coach, Coach Doug Bible, also, again, if you've got a coach named Doug Bible, Coach Bible anyway, that's how you know my university is more godly than yours, right? It's awesome. Coach Bible is the one leading the way. He's looking around, he's going, I've got 11 players. And the rule at the time was, if you can't field a full team, it's a forfeit. They're playing the number 1 team in the country. So Coach Bible turns around and he's going, man, what am I going to do? They're just taking us out left and right. I got to do something. And he remembers there's a young man in the stands who used to be on the football team. It's a young man by the name of E. King Gill. King Gill actually grew up in Dallas, and he hitchhiked from College Station to the game. He transferred from the football team to the basketball team. They kind of had negotiations over. King Gill was he was the last three-letterman that the Southwest Conference ever produced. He was a star in baseball, basketball, and football. He was an incredible athlete. But he transferred over to the basketball team, certainly at this time in the season. But he hitchhiked to the game because he wanted to root on his Aggies. So all of a sudden, there's only 11 players left. Coach Bible turns around, sees him in the stand, and says, hey, King, suit up. And so he walks down the field. They put up 2 sheets to cover him. He and one of the players changed clothes on the field just with sheets surrounding them, right? It was kind of funny. And then after that, even like his uniform, his helmet, the whole thing, it had to have been hilarious. For the rest of the game, specifically after the second half, A&M was down 14-0. And King stood on the sideline. This is actually, you've heard the phrase riding the pine. This is actually when they still had a pine bench on the sideline. For the players who weren't on the field, they could go and sit down. But for the first time, at least in documented history, a young man, instead of sitting and waiting his turn, he stood on the sideline holding his helmet just in case his team needed him. The phrase 12th man started down in College Station, Texas. People from Seattle will tell you it started there. They're lying. They have to spend $750,000 every year to Texas A&M to use that phrase. The Colts tried to do it. A&M was like, no, we're not sharing anymore, even if you pay us. This is where the 12th man started. By the way, in case you wonder, how did the game end? A&M won 21-14. Whoop! Right? It was super cool. But that's where the legend of the 12th man began. E. King Gill, he never played it down, but he stood on the sidelines ready to serve if called upon. And he's given many speeches, well, he's died now, given many speeches where he knew with all his heart the team was going to win. He believed. It's really, really cool. Here's why I'm telling this story. And it's not just to brag on my favorite university, although it is my favorite university, and that's why. I like to call Caleb from Numbers chapter 13, God's original 12th man. So here's this story that we see unfold, right? The children of Israel are in this region called Kadesh Barnea. God has delivered them from Egypt. It took them about a month to get to this point. He's part of the Red Sea. He fought off the Amalekites. He's provided manna for them every single day. Miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle. There should not be a single one of the probably 2.25 million people that were involved in this group. All of them should have known without a doubt, man, God is going to take care of us because he's taken care of us all the way to this point. It's kind of like that song we just read. God hasn't failed yet. Why would he fail now? So they're standing on the edge of the promised land that God has spoken to them about for a little over a year now at this point. And even before then, they knew the stories of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. They knew what God promised them 400 years before that. Hey, at some point, you are going to occupy this land. It's yours. It's a mortal lock. You do not have to share. I've declared this. So they're standing on the edge of this place, and they get to this place, and they get a little bit fearful. The book of Deuteronomy actually tells us in chapter 1, it wasn't that God randomly said, okay, go send out spies. The children of Israel actually came to Moses, and they said, we're kind of scared. Can we send somebody to go check it out? And Moses and God said, yeah, that's fine. Go check it out. And I equate this is really, really similar. Do you remember Gideon, the one that, hey, brave, mighty warrior, this is God's graciousness, right? Because there was nothing brave about Gideon whatsoever.
Gideon's hiding. Now, he's at least working in that sense. But God shows up and says, hey, you're a brave warrior. And Gideon says, me? Yeah, you. I want you to go fight this battle and deliver my people. Lord, I don't know. I want you to prove it to me. And he does that whole fleece thing, right? God, I want you to make the fleece wet, keep everything else dry. God says, okay, no problem. That's what God does. And you would think Gideon would go, okay, cool. And Gideon says, Lord, I know. I'm still afraid. Can you just prove it to me one more time? Can you reverse it? Keep the fleece dry, but make everything else wet. God says, no problem. God is gracious to timid and fearful flock members. That was true then, that's true now. Like, we need to embrace that and be rejoicing in that, right? So God graciously says to his people, who he's already proved 1,000,000 times over, I'm going to take care of you. Sure, send your spies in. And Moses sends them in and he says, hey, okay, go check it out. God's already kind of told us about this land, says it's really great, but man, take note of everything. See if the cities are big or small, find out what the people are like, see what the agriculture is like. Just bring us back a report. If you can bring us back some food, that's probably great too. They've been eating manna for quite a while, so I'm sure Moses is looking for something a little bit different. We know that's going to happen, right? So they go out. They go for 40 days. I just got back from Israel and Rob, we were talking yesterday about, how long does our trip need to be in Israel? The answer is 40 days, clearly. Because 40 days in Israel, they were able to survey the entire country on foot, 12 dudes. They would have looked like a little nomads. And they went all the way to the tippy top of Israel and came all the way back down. They even stopped at Hebron and visited the graves of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which should have been so solidifying to their faith. Remember, all of these guys were born in slavery. They've just heard stories about their forefathers, but now they got to experience it firsthand, which is pretty neat. I've been to the grave of Moses F. Austin. I don't know if you know who that is. It was actually Moses F. Austin. He was the one who dreamed up Texas. And he's not buried in Texas, sadly. He died on the way down here, but it was his idea, and it was his son that carried it on. But I've been to his grave. It's kind of cool, this neat Texan that never actually made it here. Same deal with these guys. They go to his graves. They come back. It even says that they found some fruit that was so large, they had to carry it between two people on a pole. I went grocery shopping with my family yesterday. My son Zion, if you ever need help picking good grapes, we're not sure why Zion is so good at picking good grapes, but he's just a little grape savant. So we send Zion into the grape aisle, and he just kind of looks at them. That's the one. And sure enough, it never fails. Zion always picks good grapes. I'm sure you've done this before. Like, you get the bag of grapes home, and you bite into the first one, like, oh, these are awful. That's never happened with Zion. But when Zion picked out good grapes yesterday, I didn't have to help Zion carry the grapes out of there. Zion's kind of a little dude, but he was perfectly capable. Imagine grapes so big and so vast and so awesome that it takes two people to carry them. This is fantastic. And so they bring all this stuff back, and you can just imagine the children of Israel. Again, there's 2.25 million of them. They're camped out, just waiting for these spies to return. I'm sure some of them were probably even fearful. Man, they may not even come back. We've been waiting for 40 days. They probably abandoned us. They probably died. But then sure enough, here come the spies. And I'm quite sure they came marching in like it was a parade, right? People were cheering, yay, yeah, we got word. And then they see these two guys carrying this massive thing of grapes. And I don't know if there was a stage or a giant rock or what, but they formed the assembly. Moses brings them up and says, okay, guys, give us the report. And the very first speaker says, yeah, man, sure enough, just like God said. No, they said the specific, just like God said. And it's a land flowing with milk and honey. We brought back some of this. Look at these grapes. This is amazing. But we discovered a problem. And the Jebusites are there, and the Amalekites are there, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and Ninevites, and all the other Ite people, whichever all the Ites were, okay? And I say it kind of flippantly because FYI, none of these people exist anymore. Because God did what he said he was going to do. But at this point, they looked at all these enemies of God. And FYI, God had already told them, hey, these people are in the land, but it does not matter because I'm going to take care of them for you. But they looked at those guys and they made the report, hey, all these enemies are here. And just so you know, to them, we look like grasshoppers. Which it not only speaks to like the size of the congregation, which is kind of funny because again, there were more Israelites than there were people in Israel at the time. That phrase is kind of funny. Grasshoppers were the smallest form of food at the time. they would eat grasshoppers like we eat M&Ms, which sounds really gross, but they didn't have M&Ms there, so this is what they were doing, right? But they would eat grasshoppers like we eat M&Ms. And so the word picture was this. Listen, these guys are so big, they could eat us like a pocket full of candy. And so, Moses, we vote no. But watch this. Before they could say this, there's this dude named Caleb. Now, I'm a little bit biased, but I like to pretend that Caleb was the youth pastor of Israel. Okay? For sure, I'm quite sure, Ryan, that Caleb was ADHD. Because Ryan and I are ADHD. We have a lot of fun with that together. So 12 spies are lined up, just like I had the seniors lined up. And Caleb's down here in the end. By the way, he's from the tribe of Judah, which is all sorts of fun. But Caleb's down here on the end, and his little ADHD legs doing what Ryan and I do. And man, he's just shaking. And so they're giving this report. Man, it's just like God said. Just like, man, there's all these cities, and it's just like God described. And here's these grapes, and it's just awesome. It's a land flowing with milk and honey. And just as somebody says, get ready, says, hey, we shouldn't go, Caleb jumps up and says, let's go! It's just like God said. I've heard this my entire life, and I saw it with my own eyes. It's just like God said. Let's go. What are we doing waiting here? Let's go. Now, Joshua was on Caleb's team, but Caleb didn't give Joshua the chance to speak. And later on in chapter 14, God actually gives Caleb special accommodations. Funny enough, 45 years from this point, Caleb is now an old man. When they finally make the journey into the promised land, Caleb is still ready to fight. You can read about it in the next book. Caleb's 80-something years old. They're getting ready to go to war, and Caleb says, send me, coach, I'm ready. And no kidding, this 85-year-old man goes running into battle and just lays people out. It's awesome. It's awesome. God said we can do this. What are we doing? But the rest of the camp disagreed. And they spent the entirety of that night. Literally, it says they wailed and they cried out against God. God, why did you do this? Why did you bring us out here to die? It would have been better if we died in the wilderness. It would have been better if we stayed as slaves. Think about that verbiage. We would have been better off as slaves. In fact, let's pick a new leader and let's go back and see if Egypt will take us back. Can you imagine all the things that you've seen and be willing to go, no, I don't buy it. It's not real. Here's why I bring up this story. Because by the way, and most of you know how the story ends, but sure enough, they don't go in. They raise up their hands and say, no, God, we're not interested. And God says, okay, fine. Your punishment is you're going to wander in the wilderness. Literally, you're going to walk in circles for 40 years. And all of you who are above the age of 20, you don't get to go in. You're going to die in this wilderness. Your kids get to go in, but you don't. I don't know if I think I've told you before, my parents' worst punishment for me was to stick my face in the corner. I don't know if any of you used that. Like, they would spank me, but Mom's best tool for me was just make me stand in the corner. So I would stand in the corner, and that was just awful, right? But making your kids just walk circles around the yard might not be a bad plan. Just free parenting advice, right? You're going to walk in circles and think about it. And most of you aren't going to make it. But the question becomes, why in the world would they doubt? Why? It doesn't make any sense. Not only did they have the proof of the spies' report, but it's exactly what God told. All the way back in Exodus chapter 3, God told them specifically, it's a land flowing with milk and honey. But what does that even mean? It's the idea that it's fertile and it's lush. When it talks about milk, it's the idea, hey, there are vast amounts of cattle there producing milk. Honey means there are vast amounts of vegetation to the point that they can not only eat the fruit, but that they can crush the fruit and do other stuff with it too. So it's not honey like we know it. It's date honey, which is also really, really yummy. They've got everything they need. If they were talking about Texas, they would have said, this is the land flowing with Dr. Pepper and Bluebell, right? Which, by the way, man, go get you some Dr. Pepper Bluebell ice cream. It's awesome. So good. There are excess resources just like God said. But they didn't believe. Here's the transition point. What's the point for us this morning? Okay, the children of Israel didn't believe God. We as the church, not just the American church, the church, collectively, we frequently do not believe God and his word when he tells us something. Give it lip service. Oh yeah, no, it's a great story. I know that one. But when God gives us commands, I can't speak for everyone, but far more often than not, we go, Lord, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm scared to do that. But here's what's remarkable. Jesus himself, he left us fully prepared for everything. He laid out for us, just like he did in the Old Testament with the Israelites, laid out for us in the New Testament. Hey, just so you know what you're up against, here's the enemies. Man, flip with me if you want. Go to Matthew chapter 24. I've got my markers here. Hopefully I can find them. I'm going to read this to you. Jesus sat down on the Mount of Olives. The disciple came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when will these things be, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the close of the age?" Jesus answered him, "See what no one leads you astray. For many will come in my name, saying, 'I'm the Christ,' and they will lead many astray. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars, and see that you're not alarmed, for this must take place, but the end is not yet. Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places, and these are all the beginnings of the birth pain. Then they will deliver you up to tribulation and put you to death, and you will be hated by all nations for my sake. Then many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another." Then you jump over to John chapter 16. Jesus talking specifically to his disciples. Actually, chapter 15. "If the world hates you, you know that they hated me before they hated you. If you were of the world would love you with its own. But because you're not of the world, I chose you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. Remember the word that I said to you, a servant's not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you. If they kept my word, they'll also keep yours." Jesus later on, in chapter 16, says, "These things I've said to you in figures of speech. The hour is coming when I will no longer speak to you in figures of speech, but will tell you plainly about the Father. And that day you'll ask in my name. And I do not say to you that I will ask in the Father on your behalf, but for the Father himself loves you because you have loved me, and you've believed that I came from God and came from the Father and have come into the world. And now I'm leaving the world to go to the Father." Here's where it gets important. His disciple says, "Oh, you're speaking plainly now." Just funny, that's not the clearest thing Jesus ever said, but suddenly it clicked. That's the work of the Holy Spirit, right? "Now we know that you know all things, and you need not have anyone to question you. This is why we believe that you're from God." Jesus answered, "Do you now believe? Behold, the hour is coming. Indeed, it has come, when you will be scattered, each to his own home, and will leave me alone. Yet I am not alone, for the Father's with me." This is the really helpful portion. "I've said these things to you, that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have tribulation. But take heart, I've overcome the world." Man, you can look at 2 Timothy chapter 3, where it talks about in the final days, men's heart will grow cold. There will be people who want to have their ears tickled. It says that lawlessness will rule the day, and when that happens, people's hearts will go cold even more. There will be countless believers who used to believe and no longer believe. Peter even says, he brings up the point, he says, hey, there's going to be a number of people that are going to use phrases like, okay, you've said Jesus is coming back for a long time. He's not come back. It's not real. When people say that, do not believe it. Many of you just finished your connection group. We're looking at 2 Peter chapter 1 today. 2 Peter chapter 1, it's so good, man. One of the things that's promised to us by God is this. God has given us everything we need to accomplish his work for life and godliness by his Spirit. He's given us the information we need. He's given us his power that we need in order to accomplish his purposes. You go, okay, that's a big burp. What's his purpose? Here's the purpose. It's real, real simple. It's exactly what Jesus told his disciples right before he left them. And the first thing he says is actually the most important. Guys, listen to me on this. This is huge. Jesus made this statement. He said, all authority in heaven and earth belongs to me. Therefore, go and make disciples. Baptize them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teach them to obey everything that I've commanded you. And here's the other best part too. He starts with something awesome and ends with maybe something even sweeter. And hey, just so you know, I've given you this job, but good news, you're not alone. I am with you always, even to the end. Beloved church family, parents, wherever you are with your walk with Jesus, I know beyond the shadow of a doubt, there are times when you look at the world and you go, God, what on earth are you doing to us? There's any number of days when I say, okay, Jesus, man, I'm ready. Come and get us. It's time. But that's his business. It's not mine. But he has given us business to do. And our call is to go and make disciples. And the beautiful thing about that phrase, when it says go, a lot of times we like to use this phrase, okay, you got to go on mission trips. And we do that a lot, praise God. I'm so thankful for all the mission trips we go on. So thankful for all the trips we let us go on as a student ministry. But the phrase is actually in the original Greek, Jesus said, as you are going, the things that you do all the time, the ways that I've gifted you and the skills that I've given you and the jobs that you have and the schools that I've placed you in and the neighbors that you have, everything that you have in your life, I placed you in that spot for a reason. I've given you everything you need for life and godliness to accomplish my purposes. And so your job is to go in your realm of the world and to make disciples. Tell people about what I've done. Tell them. And tell them specifically about what I've done for you. If you're a member of this church and you're paying even a little bit of attention, you don't get to say, man, God doesn't do miracles anymore. Man, he does them all the time. And it's awesome. And by the way, miracles don't always have to be like big, gigantic things. Jesus continues just to affirm his power in our life. This is small, no kidding. But it was such a sweet thing. We have a faucet on the outside of our house that just leaks. And we've tried all sorts of silly things to fix it. So my wife, God bless her, was out one day this week, and she watched a YouTube video and said, I think I can do this. We're going to try something different. It's awesome. Go for it, baby doll. So she goes to Ace, and she buys the part, and she goes home and shuts off the water. This is all while I'm at work. Like, she's just giving me text updates, right? And she does everything the video shows and then turns the water back on, and dadgummit, the thing didn't start leaking again. She's like, man. And so, no kidding, over text, and this wasn't flippant, I just said, Jesus, would you please turn this water off? 15 minutes later, the water's off. Yeah, praise God. Do you know what a plumber costs? Holy cow. Y'all take wonderful care of me, but man, I don't want to be playing plumbers if I don't have to. Jesus was a carpenter, and apparently he's a plumber too. Thank you. All authority in heaven and earth. There is not a scratch of this planet. No, scratch that. There is not a scrap of this universe that you can go where Jesus isn't in charge. And he says, I'm with you. I've got your back. The things I've told you to do, you can do it. Not because you're that special, or that talented, or that smart. All those things you have, I gave those to you. You can do these things because by my Spirit, I'm going to empower you to do this stuff. Just like later on when the children of Israel finally got to go in the land, they're still scared, by the way. Now it's the children of all the people that have been wanted to death. Like they've paid for their parents' sins, but all that's over. They're still nervous, but they go into battle. And I have no doubt when they're marching around Jericho, they're terrified. Because God said, I'm not even giving you a sword. All you're going to do is shout and yell and blow trumpets. Trust me. And sure enough, day 7, they did exactly what God told them to do. And God did exactly what he said he would do. And the city of Jericho, which was an impenetrable city, no one had ever done it before, God knocked it down. This is the God that we serve. Catch this, and I'm almost done. When they went into the nation of Israel, and they saw these giants, and they saw this lush land, and they saw those awesome grapes, their brain said, okay, like all this good stuff we're seeing, that means that these problems are just too big for us. And they were looking at it the wrong way. When you see giant obstacles and when you see giant bits of goodness, like huge grapes, think to yourself, my goodness, what kind of an awesome God do I serve that he can do this kind of stuff? This is the God that we serve. We've seen him do it. He shuts off water pipes. He cures cancer. He raises people back from the dead. And this is the God that set us free. We were slaves. We are no longer slaves. He has set us free, and now he's given us the privilege to go and serve him all over the world. And you guys are getting ready to go all over the world, and I'm thrilled for you. Go and make disciples. Guys, I've taught you everything I know to teach you. You're ready, and I'm not the only one. I want you to see something. Church family, would you do something for me? I used to do this beforehand. I want you to see it now. If you have been a Sunday school teacher or a volunteer in the student ministry, if any of these students have ever been in your house, if you've been involved in any of their lives, would you stand up for me just real fast? There's a few of you in here. A lot of them are in the second service, but there's a bunch of you in here. Guys, look around. It's not just me. It's not just Kate. It's not just Pastor Eric and all the other staff. You've had tons and tons of volunteers who have taught you all sorts of good stuff. You're ready. Go make disciples. Jesus, would you help us today? Father, bless your word. Praise band, you guys come on up. Father, bless your word and help us to do what you've said. Father, you do all the work. You just give us the privilege of obeying and then watching what you do. Help us to believe that. It's not always that simple, but most of the time it is. We just have to trust you to actually do what you said you're going to do, so help us. Bless your word in our lives.